Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Professor Yair Auron, who is from Israel, a scholar of genocides, and someone with whom we've been chatting on camera, off camera, about issues of common interest, I would say, and specifically the issue of identity. Armenian identity, Jewish identity, where does the definition come from? How does it evolve? And if you don't mind, we're just going to continue to chat now on camera. And with your comments, you'll tell us where you think we fell. Professor Auron, thanks for giving us the time.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you something that an old friend, a former ambassador of Armenia, Jivan Tabibian, used to say. He used to say that Jews are lucky. They have two words. They have Israeli and they have Jewish. We have one word, Armenian. And so when we come to define who we are, we have to go through all sorts of ups and downs and in and out and explanations. Do you agree with him? Is it good that you have two terms?
But these two terms does not mean that we have not problems of identity. There are many problems of identity, and the two notion, Israeli and Jews, does not leave us with a clear answer, because Israeli is somebody who has Israeli identity card. It can be a Jew by nationality, it can be Palestinian, it can be other people.
Armenians, 5,000 of them.
Of course, yeah. Now, this is clear. Who is the Israeli? One who has Israeli card identity. Israeli identity card.
Identity card, sure.
Now, who is a Jew is the big problem, because we discuss practically every day in the newspaper, in the academy, in the books, many of our novels dealing with problem of identity of our generation.
We don't, not in Armenia. We do in the diaspora, but we don't ask that question in Armenia.
Okay, because an Armenian is somebody who lives in Armenia, and for the great majority is from Armenian nationality. So you have not here in Armenia the question between religious and nationality that we will come back. Now in Israel, every day, practically, every day, there is something about identity, what is the meaning of being a Jew. Now, unfortunately, in my opinion, the state took the religious definition and adopted to the legal civil Israeli state and society.
And you have that definition in the law.
Yeah, unfortunately, the definition of a Jew by the state of Israel, unfortunately, is somebody who was born to a Jewish mother. And then this is exactly the halachic, the religious law.
In Armenia, for Armenians, many people say we should have a law that defines who is an Armenian. I don't think we should. Am I wrong?
I think I agree with you completely. I struggle against this law in Israel because I am a Jew. I am not a religious Jew. I say it openly, but the state of Israel considers me like a Jew because of my mother. And I think that we are born in certain time to certain parents in certain country. We can decide about it. This is our fortune, you and us.
Why do you think that Israel, Armenia and Armenians in some ways, while Europe is going in the other direction, Europe is going to less borders, less definitions, we're all European, we're going, it seems, the other way. Israel is building a wall between Israel and Palestinian territories. Armenians are bound and determined to say, we're Armenian. It's not the Caucasus, we're Armenian. The territories are our territories. Why is it we're going the other direction?
I think because our existence like a people, like a state in these two cases is not clear, is not sure.
It's not assured.
Yeah, I think that the Israeli governments manipulate the situation. I think that the Israeli state is a fact that can be changed whatsoever, as you can think about the future. But unfortunately, we are developing, and I think you also in a way, excuse me to say, the identity of victimhood. We are victim, and especially
professional victims.
yeah, and in Israel even they are going further. They say we are the victim. The victim.
The victim.
Yeah, the one.
Yeah, the victim. Yeah.
And even when we are committing evil to the Palestinians, so big evils, unacceptable. We continue to say, but we are the victim. When practically we are the perpetrator. And this identity of victimhood is stable because it shows your mind, it shows your heart even more. Because when we are committing so many evils, really, to the Palestinians, everyday evils, I can't stand it, how big they are. And when, for example, when we built new settlements, even during the negotiation in Europe and the state said openly that they don't accept it, the foreign minister and the prime minister used terminology of the Holocaust.
To justify the settlement.
Like the leaders of Europe in the 30s was not care about the Jews, and they are not
caring today.
It's terrible.
And it diminishes the impact and the significance, of course, of the Holocaust while you do that.
Of course, it's a really important point.
I think we make that mistake ourselves often. I know that often Jews will say that the mission in life of a Jew is tikkun olam, to repair the world, huh?
Yeah.
And I've often thought that explains why Jews take upon themselves that role of a global nation. Music, in social services, in the arts, not just in business.
Yeah.
And is that still there? Is that still a self-imposed, self-selected goal, objective, mission?
But let me say firstly that I was, it's the 6th visit in Armenia for me. And this time I am so impressed by the quality of your culture. You say it's about the Jews, but I was in a concert in the opera. Unbelievable. And I am not, of course, I am not professional, but I think it's one of the best ensembles all over the world. And yesterday I went to a concert for the compositor who has now 75 years, I don't know his name.
You mean Dikran Mansourian?
Yeah. It's
amazing. He's possibly the last of his generation, and he's wonderful. And he's a very decent human being.
He was there, and he was modest and even shy a little bit.
Yes.
But
I don't think less of our culture. What I find enviable is the willingness to take on yourself the role of fixing the world, repairing the world.
But we are losing this character of our culture, unfortunately. And let me say, in my opinion, it's because of Israel. Because Israel succeeded to manipulate the majority of the Jews of the diaspora to feel guilty feelings because they are not with us, even though, in my opinion, they have all the right to stay wherever you want. And so we combine them with us. And it's very critical issue for us because I think that the Israeli society is a sick society. Also the Palestinian. We are sick because we manipulated the memory of the Holocaust, and now we have the occupation. And for the last 30 years, our government does not want to give up the territories because of nationalistic and religious aspect. But by this, they're destroying deeply our society. And there is a common issue, I can say for myself, but I feel very close to you Armenians, so I think that we both have we have, of course, the genocides, which I know what does it mean.
To have that burden and the legacy.
This is authentic feeling, and for you also the fact that your genocide is not recognized is double victimhood and authentic, not manipulated.
In Israel, when someone packs up their bags and says, I'm emigrating, is it a tragedy? Does everybody sit around and cry?
No, it was like this 35 years. Rabin even used bad terminology against the people who leave the country. No, it has changed a lot.
Last question. Since independence, Armenians, especially in the diaspora, are forced to re-examine the question of identity.
Sure.
It's one thing if you're a stateless people living in dispersion. It's another thing if you are living in dispersion when there's a mother state, regardless of whether you came from that place or not. You're associated with that place.
Yeah, of course.
And our diaspora is having a hard time with this.
Yeah.
And Armenia is having a hard time explaining that, look, whether you like it or not, when you say you are Armenian, you are associated with this place. So better you make this place what you want it to be. Otherwise, you're going to be associated with a place you don't like.
Yeah, and I think this is quite an issue for the Armenians because, let me say, I proposed Greg Sarkisian when I was the first time
President
in Armenia. I began to know a little bit more about your identity problem, and then
our identity problem. I like that.
and then I worked especially upon this issue, like academic. Then I changed, but I continue to work about identity. Let's do something. We have to work together about the question of the problems, let me say, of identity, because we have much in common. Let me say I think the fact that it is ex-communist state influenced the state, and there are, I can say it open, there are dogmatic people here who are not open-minded in a way of thinking. I think the fact that you did not let for many years double nationality is a mistake, because this prevents people that wanted to come. And I know I was in '95. I met people, young people and older people who were ready to come, but not to leave their other nationality. And I think we became not really in Israel, but it's better than we look upon the Jews of the diaspora down. We are the Jews. There are even quite important intellectuals in Israel who get also his popularity by writing novels and articles. Like the Israeli is the ultimate Jew.
Sure.
Ultimate, it's unacceptable terminology, but he said they are Jews with some disadvantage. We are the real and the quote-unquote good Jews. But I think we wanted the money from them.
Israel wanted money from the diaspora, the Jewish
especially
diaspora.
the American. Many Israelis, even now, wanted to be American people. And the American culture, which is, let me say, not deep and profound culture, it's a money culture, is the example for many young Israelis. So they want to be rich. They are not ready to do anything for changing our attitude to the Palestinians. You can go in Tel Aviv in the evening. It's a lovely city with many cafes and bars and restaurants with many young Israelis. And they are happy because the ambience is even more social than in cafes in Paris, where one is alone. And when you try to speak with them, 15 kilometers from here, there are Palestinians who are suffering today, tonight. Do you want to go to see them? He will throw me out. What do you want for my life? Let me enjoy. And unfortunately, the problem of our attitude to the Palestinians is related to the way we cultivate the narrative, the memory of the Holocaust in our society. And instead to take from the Holocaust the universal lessons or message or legacy, we take them, the memory of the Holocaust, to a very limited, particularistic, even let me say nationalistic way of thinking. Because of this, your tragedy or your genocide, unfortunately, it's not an issue for them. But let me say one positive thing finally. When they know about the Armenian genocide, they identify, even automatically. But then when you speak with them more, like in the classes, they ask themselves, but listen, I thought I'm young intellectual, I'm learning in the university, I read books. How could it be that I know anything about Armenian genocide and neither about the Rwandan genocide, which happened in his life?
And it's amazing, and maybe this is a perfect place to conclude, the same reactions I hear in Turkey.
In Turkey?
I read books, I'm an intellectual, how come I don't know about the Armenian genocide, and especially in Turkey where I am implicated, right? So it's fascinating.
But let me say, in Turkey, it's the country who don't let them to know, the state who don't. In Israel,
it's open.
It's also in a way, in the high school you can learn about the Armenian genocide. Unfortunately, I hope we are going to change it. We're struggling, and I think it will come in high school, which is very important. But in the university, we have done it. But really, when they know it, many students come, but tell me, how could it be that I did not know anything? I tell them the system is responsible, but you also are responsible. You can know it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great message to end with. We've been speaking with Professor Yair Auron about the problem, our problem of identity, he called it. And I like that, our problem of identity. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for following us on CivilNet.